The silence at the edge of the room was full of noise. Laughter, clinking glasses, bright camera flashes. People were everywhere, dressed like they were made of diamonds. It was the after-party for a movie premiere, another big night. In Hollywood, the air smelled like perfume, champagne, and something fake. But in the far corner of that glowing room, near the emergency exit, sat Ana de Armas, not smiling, not laughing, sitting. Her dress was elegant, her hair perfect, but her eyes were lost. She wasn't waiting for someone, hoping to be noticed. She just wanted a moment to breathe. No one noticed her. No one except Keanu Reeves. He walked in late, as usual. Quiet. Simple. No entourage. Just him, like a breeze that doesn't want to be felt but still moves everything in its path. He scanned the room once. Not the flashing lights, not the celebrities. He looked toward the shadows and he saw her. Without a word, he walked over. To the exit where Ana sat, she noticed him but didn't move. And then, without asking, without trying to impress, Keanu sat beside her. No words, no performance. He simply sat. For a moment, time stood still. Ana finally turned to him, her voice barely a whisper. "Why are you here?" Keanu didn't smile. He didn't flirt. He just looked at her with those kind eyes. "I saw you. And you looked like you didn't want to be seen." That one sentence hit her harder than any compliment she'd heard all night. She looked down at her hands, picking at her nail polish. "I'm tired," she said. "Of the party? Of everything." Silence again. He didn't push. He didn't pry. Just listened without saying anything. It had been months since Ana had felt seen. It's not as an actress, not as a face on posters, but as a human. The industry had taken a toll. Critics talked about her like she wasn't real. Her co-stars were friendly on set, but cold off camera. She was surrounded by people, yet lonelier than ever. She looked at Keanu. He was looking ahead, not at her, but there was something calming in his presence. She asked, "Do you ever feel like you're just performing even when you're not acting?" He nodded slowly. "All the time. That's why I like silence. It doesn't expect anything from you." Ana let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Then, from across the room, a loud burst of laughter rang out. Someone famous had arrived. Cameras swarmed. People moved. The crowd shifted, but Keanu and Ana stayed still, and for the first time that night, she didn't feel like she had to smile. She didn't feel like she had to explain herself. Keanu didn't ask questions. He didn't try to fix her sadness. He just let it exist. And somehow that was more healing than anything else. "You're not like them," she finally said. "Neither are you," he replied. A few minutes passed in quiet. "You want to leave?" he asked. Ana hesitated. She looked at the door. At the crowd, then at him. "Yeah," she said. They stood up, still not touching, still not rushing. As they moved through the crowd, nobody noticed them. It was strange. Two of the most recognized faces in Hollywood, slipping away like shadows. Once outside, the cool night air hit her skin. She shivered. Keanu took off his jacket and handed it to her, not as a gesture of romance, not as a trick, just as a human being seeing another in need. Ana pulled it around her shoulders. "Thank you," she said. "You don't have to thank me," he replied. They walked in silence down the empty street. There were no fans, no cameras, just their footsteps echoing off the sidewalk. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Someplace." Quiet, and for the first time in a long time, Ana didn't care where she was headed, because for the first time, she felt like she wasn't walking alone. The diner with no Namath car ride was quiet. Keanu drove without music, and Ana didn't mind. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was peaceful. Every so often she glanced at him, the way his hands gripped the steering wheel gently. Like he wasn't trying to control the car, just guide it. He didn't look like a movie star behind the wheel. He looked like a man who had seen pain and learned to live with it. Ana leaned her head against the window, watching the city lights pass by like slow-moving stars. She finally spoke. "You always this quiet?" Keanu smiled softly. "Only when words don't help." Ana nodded. Good, 'cause I'm tired of words. 20 minutes later, he pulled into a parking lot behind a tiny old diner. No name on the sign, just a flickering neon open in the window. It looked like a place time forgot. Inside, there were no influencers. No paparazzi, just a sleepy cook behind the counter and a jukebox that hadn't been touched in years. "What is this place?" Anna asked, stepping out of the car. "Somewhere people don't pretend," Keanu said. They walked in, and the cook barely glanced at them. Keanu gave him a small nod, and the man nodded back. No one rushed to take photos. No one screamed. For the first time in weeks, Anna felt invisible in the best way. They sat in a corner booth. Keanu ordered black coffee. Anna asked for tea. The waitress, an older woman with tired eyes and a kind smile, placed the mugs down without a word. Anna held the warm cup between her hands. "I feel like I've been pretending for months," she whispered. "On screen, off screen. Even when I look in the mirror." Keanu stirred his coffee slowly. "Hollywood will make you forget who you are. It'll try to rewrite your story. And you," she asked, "how did you keep yours?" He looked up, his eyes a little distant. "Lost mine once. And when I got it back, I swore I'd never let anyone steal it again." Anna leaned in a little. "What happened?" Keanu looked at her for a long moment. Then he said something she didn't expect. "I held my sister's hand while she died." Her eyes widened. She didn't know. She'd heard stories, rumors, interviews, but never like this. Not from him. "I was filming a movie," he continued. "Everyone kept asking for more. More scenes, more press, more of me. But all I wanted was to be by her side." She said something before she passed. She said, "You're allowed to stop, Keanu." Anna felt something tighten in her chest. "But you didn't stop," she said. "Not then," he replied. "But I started walking slower. I stopped chasing things that didn't matter." Looked down at her tea. It was still too hot to drink. "I'm scared to stop. I feel like if I do, everyone will forget me." Keanu leaned forward. "Maybe the people who forget you aren't the ones worth remembering." His words sank into her like rain after a long drought. The waitress came back with a slice of pie and placed it in front of Anna. "On the house," she said softly. "You look like someone who needs something sweet." Anna smiled, touched. "Thank you." They shared the pie. Small bites. No rush. No pressure. After a while, Anna looked around. "This place feels like a dream." "It is," Keanu said. "But the kind you don't want to wake up from." She stared at him. "Why did you really come sit beside me tonight?" He thought for a moment. "'Cause you reminded me of myself. Not the actor. The person behind it." Anna looked away, blinking back something in her eyes. "You have no idea how much I needed this." Keanu took a sip of his coffee. Sometimes the people who look the strongest are the ones closest to falling. Anna looked at him again, this time with something different in her eyes. Not attraction, not admiration, something deeper. Trust. Outside, the sky began to change. The stars were fading, and a soft hint of morning crept across the horizon. "It's almost dawn," she said. Keanu stood slowly. "Come on, I want to show you one more thing before the world wakes up." Anna followed him out. The cook nodded. The waitress waved. The world was still quiet. They got into the car and drove again, this time toward the hills. Anna didn't ask where they were going. She just trusted him. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel lost. Where the city disappears, Keanu drove up the winding hill road. The city lights behind them began to shrink. Anna watched in silence, her breath fogging up the window slightly. It was early, so early that the street lamps were still on, and the birds hadn't started singing yet. The silence felt sacred. "Where are we going?" she asked softly, more out of wonder than worry. "Almost there," Keanu replied, eyes steady on the road. "You'll know when we get there." Anna didn't press him. She just leaned back and closed her eyes for a moment, letting the hum of the engine and the rhythm of the curves rock her like a lullaby. Her hands were still wrapped in his jacket. It smelled like coffee and rain. It felt like safety. 10 minutes later, Keanu pulled off the road and parked beside a small wooden gate. There were no signs, no lights, just nature and quiet. He got out first and opened her door. "Careful," he said. "It's a little steep." They walked side by side, their steps slow and gentle, like they didn't want to wake the earth. The path was narrow, lined with trees and rocks, and opened into a small clearing that overlooked the city. From here, the skyline looked like a toy set. The cars, the buildings, the neon, all so far away it felt unreal. Anna's mouth fell open slightly. "Oh my God." "I come here when I forget what matters," Keanu said. "This place, it reminds me that we're small." "Okay." Anna walked toward the edge of the hill and sat on a flat rock. Keanu joined her, knees brushing. The city flickered below, while the sky above slowly turned from black to navy to a soft, pale blue. "You know what's funny?" Yana said after. "A while, I always thought making it in Hollywood would make me feel bigger, like I finally existed, like I mattered." And Keanu asked gently, "The more I rose, the smaller I felt. It's like the more people knew my name, the less they knew me." Keanu nodded, his face calm. "I know exactly what you mean." Anna turned to him. "How do you do it? How do you stay kind? How do you stay ... human?" He was quiet for a moment before answering. "I remember loss. And I never stopped listening." "Listening to who? To the part of me that still hurts? The part that still feels wonder? The part that isn't impressed by fame or power?" Anna looked back at the horizon. The sun was peeking out now, painting gold on the edge of the sky. "This is the most honest I've felt in a long time," she whispered. "You don't have to perform here," Keanu said. "Not for me. Not for anyone." Anna blinked slowly. "Do you ever wonder what your life would have been like without the cameras? Without the scripts?" Keanu gave a small smile. "Sometimes. Then I remember life isn't about what the world sees. It's about who you become when no one's looking." Anna's throat tightened. Something about the way he said that hit her deep. Like he wasn't just saying it to her, but to a version of himself long buried. The wind picked up slightly, brushing strands of her hair across her face. Keanu reached out and gently tucked them behind her ear. Not romantic, not possessive, just a kind human gesture. She didn't speak, didn't need to. They sat in silence as the sun climbed higher, casting soft light across the hills and over their faces. The city was awake now, but up here it still felt like a dream. Anna finally stood. "I don't want to go back yet." "We don't have to," Keanu said. "Not until you're ready." They walked back to the car slowly. Not because of the slope, but because neither of them wanted to leave the stillness. When they got back, inside, Anna turned to him and said something that surprised even herself. "Do you believe two people can find each other? Not because they're meant to fall in love, but because they're meant to help each other heal." Keanu looked at her for a long second. "Yes," he said, "I do." She looked out the window again, this time with a quiet smile. "That's why you sat beside me, maybe," he replied. "Or maybe you sat beside me first, in another lifetime." Anna laughed gently. "Sound like a poet?" Keanu shrugged. "Sometimes pain writes the best lines." As they drove back down the hill, the sun rising behind them, Anna leaned her head on the window again, but this time it wasn't to hide. It was to rest. Because for the first time in months, she felt like she didn't need to run anymore. The question no one asked Keith next morning, Anna woke up with a strange feeling in her chest, something soft, something warm. She hadn't felt it in a long time. Not peace exactly, but something close to it. She had slept for 6 straight hours. No nightmares. No sudden jolts awake. And when she opened her eyes, she realized she was still wearing Keanu's jacket. Her fingers were curled around the sleeve like a child holding onto a blanket. She sat up slowly. The sunlight streaming through her bedroom window. Everything looked different. Not because her apartment had changed, but because she had. Even the silence felt less heavy. Her phone buzzed on the table. Dozens of messages. Her agent, studio people, friends who weren't really friends. But one message stood out. It was from Keanu. Just 3 words. You okay today? No emojis? No pressure? Just quiet care. She stared at the screen for a moment before replying, I am now. They didn't meet that day, but they texted. Not constantly, just enough. Simple things, random thoughts, old songs, strange dreams. And in those little exchanges, Anna felt herself come back to life, piece by piece. 2 nights later she was. On set, the lights were harsh. The director was sharp. Someone had messed up a cue, and the whole scene had to be reset. Anna stood in her costume, surrounded by people, yet felt completely alone again. Ow. The old weight began to creep back in, and that's when she heard a familiar voice behind her. I was in the neighborhood. She turned on. There was Keanu, wearing jeans, a plain black t-shirt, holding 2 coffees. You don't even know where I'm filming, she said, surprised. You texted a photo of your trailer this morning, he replied, and the street name was on the sign in the background. She shook her head. That's either impressive or creepy. Hopefully impressive. She took the coffee from his hand. How long can you stay? Long enough, he said. They sat on the edge of a nearby equipment crate, watching crew members shuffle around. She didn't need to explain what was wrong. He saw it on her face. It's like every time I do this, she said, I give away another part of myself. And what do you get in return? Keanu asked. Double quotes applause. Money. But it doesn't. Fill the hole. He nodded because the applause dies. The money can't hug you. She looked at him. Do you still love acting? I love stories, he said, but not all of them are worth telling. Anna was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, what's a story worth telling? Keanu didn't rush the answer, he thought. Deeply then said, the ones that heal. Even if they only heal one person. That night after shooting wrapped, Anna didn't want to go home. She didn't want to go to a party. She just wanted to go somewhere that didn't expect her to be anything other than herself. Keanu picked her up and drove her to a bookstore. It was old, quiet, and smelled like paper and time. They wandered the aisles, not saying much. Anna picked up a book with a worn cover. Keanu noticed and said, that's a good one. You've read it? It's twice. They bought the book. Outside it started to rain. Instead of running, they walked in it slowly. Anna tilted her head up and let the drops fall on her face. She started to laugh, really laugh, not for the cameras. It's not for anyone else. Keanu looked at her. That laugh. It suits you more than any movie poster. They walked back to the car soaking wet, and neither of them cared. Once inside, Anna turned to him. I've been thinking about something. What? If you hadn't sat beside me that night, I don't know where I'd be right now. Keanu was quiet. You didn't ask me to talk, she continued. You didn't try to fix me. You just sat. Sometimes sitting beside someone is all they need, he said. You don't have to fill the silence. You just have to respect it. She stared at him for a long moment. Then she asked the question no one else had thought to ask her in months. Double quotes Keanu. Are you okay? The question caught him off guard. He looked away, out at the rain-covered windshield. No one ever asks me that, he whispered. Anna reached over and gently touched his hand. Well, she said, I'm asking. He looked at her again, really looked. And for a second, the mask he always wore, the calm, the strength, the gentleness, shimmered. Underneath it, she saw something fragile, something wounded. For the first time, she realized he wasn't just saving her, they were saving each other. The mirror they didn't expect 3 weeks passed. Not much changed in the world. The camera still followed Anna. The media still tried to guess who Keanu was dating. Scripts kept arriving. Red carpets rolled out. But behind all that noise, something very quiet was growing, something real. Anna and Keanu weren't lovers. They weren't just friends. They were something harder to define. They were safe places for each other. A place to rest, to breathe, to speak without fear. It was a bond built not on drama, but on silence, on listening, and on kindness. One evening, Anna invited Keanu to a charity event she was nervous about. It wasn't the crowd that bothered her. It was who she might run into, an old director. One who made her cry in secret during an entire shoot, who told her she wasn't strong enough to carry a film, who once asked her to redo a crying scene because her tears looked fake even, though they were real. I don't want to see him, she told Keanu before the event. Then let's go for you, not for him, he replied. And if he speaks to me, then you'll have someone beside you who already knows your worth. The event was elegant. Soft lighting, violins, rows of important people. Anna walked in with Keanu beside her, his hand gently resting behind her back, not possessive, just protective. The moment they entered, heads turned. Cameras flashed. People whispered. But Anna didn't shrink this time, because she wasn't walking in alone. She gave her speech. Short, heartfelt, real. No rehearsed lines, no fake charm. Women in film, about being underestimated, about the invisible bruises that can't be covered by makeup. Her voice trembled once, but she didn't break. And when she stepped off the stage, Keanu was already standing. Waiting, his eyes said everything. You did it. Then she saw him, the director, walking toward her, wine glass in hand, smile rehearsed. Voice smooth, Anna, he said. You've grown into quite the star. She felt her stomach twist. Thank you, she said, her voice polite but firm. He leaned in slightly. You know, back then, I saw something in you. I pushed you because I knew you could shine. Anna froze. Old anger stirred. But then Keanu stepped slightly forward. Not aggressive, just enough. Sometimes, Keanu said calmly, people. Break others and call it pushing. The director blinked, caught off guard. I beg your pardon? You don't need to beg, Keanu replied. Just listen. And maybe next time, think before you speak. Anna stood taller. For the first time, she didn't feel like she had to swallow her pain to keep the peace. She looked the director in the eye. Your words didn't make me better, she said. I almost made me quit. He didn't respond, just walked away. Flustered, Anna turned to Keanu. Thank you. I didn't speak for you, he said. I stood beside you, so you could speak for yourself. Outside, they stepped into the night air. The stars were out, the wind gentle. Do you know why that meant so much to me? Anna asked. Keanu looked at her. Because you were finally heard, no, she said. Guys, I didn't have to be loud to be powerful. I was calm. I was enough. He smiled. You always were. They walked slowly down the sidewalk, their footsteps in sync. Anna glanced at him. What about you? What's your moment? The one that still haunts you? Keanu was silent for a long time. Then he spoke. There was a night I almost walked away from everything, acting life. I was sitting in a hotel room. It was raining. I had just finished filming a scene where my character lost everything. And when the director said cut, I realized I didn't know where my own pain ended and the character's began. Anna listened quietly. I sat in that room, he said, staring at my reflection. Yes! And I asked myself, who are you when no one's watching? I didn't have an answer. And now? She asked. He looked at her. Now I know. I'm someone who stays, even when it hurts. They stopped walking, stood there under a flickering street lamp. You know what I see? When I look at you? Keanu asked. What? A mirror? Not because we're the same, but because we both carry our stories quietly, and in each other, we find the parts we lost. Anna didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her eyes said everything. Not love. Not romance. Something deeper. Recognition. They got into the car, drove in silence again. Not because there was nothing to say, because the silence between them had become sacred. As they reached her place, Anna turned to him. Come up, she said. He hesitated. Not for anything else, she added quickly. Just so I don't have to sit with this night alone. He nodded. Okay. Inside, she lit a candle. Made tea.
Oh.
They sat on the floor, backs against the couch. No lights, no music. Just two people who had stopped pretending. Anna looked at him. You still don't talk much? She said with a small smile. Words are heavy, Keanu replied, but silence is soft. He nodded, and sometimes that's all we need. The candle flickered between them, casting soft shadows on the wall. Anna rested her head on his shoulder, not out of weakness, but because sometimes even the strongest people need to lean. The seat by the exit was the kind of morning that didn't ask for attention. Gray sky, light drizzle, a breeze that carried the scent of old rain and quiet thoughts. Anna sat alone in the far corner of a coffee shop by the window near the exit. Her hair was tied up messily, sunglasses low on her face, and a book lay open on the table, but she wasn't reading. Her eyes were on the street, watching, waiting. It had been 6 days since she'd seen Keanu. Not because of a fight, not because of distance. Just life. His schedule took him out of town. Theirs had piled up with meetings. But in those 6 days, something inside her had shifted. Slowly, softly, but clearly she missed him. Not for how he made her feel important, but for how he made her feel seen. And in that quiet corner seat, the one by the exit, the same kind of seat where this all began, she found herself remembering everything. The night he sat beside her, the hilltop sunrise, the bookstore, the rain, the silence. The way he stood beside her without needing to be in front. Just then, the bell above the door rang. Anna didn't look up at first. She was scared to hope, but then she heard the footsteps. Slow, steady, familiar. He slid into the seat beside her. No hello, no dramatic entrance. He just sat, like he did the first time. Anna smiled without turning her head. You always find the exit. She whispered. Keanu rested his hands on the table. Calm. No, I find you near it. They sat in silence for a long time. Then Anna turned to face him, her eyes clear, her voice steady. I want to tell stories that matter, she said. Not ones that make me famous, not ones that make me rich, but stories that reach someone, even if it's just one person. Keanu nodded. Then you're ready. Ready for what? To stop hiding? Anna took a breath. And you, he thought for a moment. I want to stop standing in the background of my own life. She reached for his hand, not to hold it, just to touch it, to remind them both that they were real. Do you think, she asked gently, people like us ever stop carrying the past? No, he said, but we learn how to carry it with grace. Outside, the rain started again, not heavy, just soft enough to blur the windows. Double quotes, I thought I needed answers, Anna said, but maybe. I just needed someone to listen. And sit beside you. She smiled. Always by the exit. Keanu looked around. Do you know why you always sit near the exit? Why? Because part of you is always ready to leave, just in case it gets too heavy. Anna nodded slowly. But today, I stayed. He smiled and I came back. They both looked out the window. Life moved on outside. Cars, people, phones ringing, umbrellas opening. The world didn't notice them. And that was okay. Anna turned to Keanu one last time. I don't know where this goes. I don't know what we are. We don't have to name it, he said. We just have to be in it. Promise me something, she said softly. Anything. No matter where we are or how busy life gets. One of us sits near the exit. The other will sit beside them, he finished. She nodded. Exactly. They stood up, walked to the door together. This time, they didn't walk out as strangers. This time, they walked out with a story. Not one for tabloids, not one for scripts, but one for the heart. Two people. Carrying their past. Finding healing in silence, in kindness. In showing up not with loud declarations, but with soft presence. Sometimes, the loudest love stories are the quietest. And sometimes, the most beautiful connections begin. When someone chooses to sit beside you, without saying a word,